Well, good morning and welcome to our first service on Sunday morning. We have two services, the first of which is the Bible Prophecy Update that we do weekly. And the second service is the sermon. It's a verse-by-verse study through the Word of God. We're currently in the book of Hebrews, and today's text, contrary to what the screen says, is chapter 12, verses 4 through 13, not 4 through 12. Someone made a mistake, and it was me. Too much turkey. That tryptophan really, So, chapter 12, verses 4 through 13. And today, we're going to look at those times in our Christian lives when God deems it necessary to chastise us and discipline us, and what doing so accomplishes in us. And that's going to be live streamed at 11:15 for those of you that stay for both services. You might want to today, because if you don't, we'll know, and you'll get a spiritual spanking if you don't. So again, that's at 11:15. Looking forward to what the Lord has for us there. For those of you on YouTube or Facebook, we would encourage you at this time to go directly to the website, jdfarag.org, for the uncensored, uninterrupted entirety of today's update. One more thing before we get started. We have added links as a follow-up to last week's update concerning certain medications not containing tissue from aborted babies. So what you're going to want to do if you're being taken to task on this, you can go to our website, go to the support center, you drop down from the resources menu as pictured here. It'll take you to the support center page. You'll find exemption letters at the bottom right-hand corner. You click on that. It will take you to the FAQ page. By the way, expand it. There's a place down below where you can click on and expand it. And once you do, you'll find this question: what if my employer asks why I take other medications or vaccinations that have tissues from aborted babies? So you select that, and then we have another page devoted to just that. It has suggested answers and also the supporting documents that you can download and supplement with your exemption request. So hope that is a help to you. I know many of you are dealing with this, and please know that the Lord knows, and God is in control no matter the outcome. So with that, let's get to our update. For today's update, I want to talk with you about this last ruling empire of man on earth at the time that Jesus returns to set up his kingdom and reigns forever and ever. And if you're willing to hear me out, what I'm going to do, or at least attempt to do today, is argue the case that specific details in Bible prophecy describe that which is even now being set up in real time and at breakneck speed as we speak. Now, in order to do that, I need to draw your attention to one of the most fascinating prophecies in the Bible, and it's found in the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 2. If you'll allow me to, I'll give you a quick backstory. It's going to be germane to our understanding of how we got to where we are today in the world. And it comes by way of this, for lack of a better way of saying it, beautiful, wonderful marriage between Bible history and Bible prophecy. Now, it's important to understand at the time that this prophecy is given in Daniel 2, it was yet future. But then when you fast forward to the book of Revelation, as we'll see, you look back on this prophecy in Daniel 2. It's no longer prophecy, now it's Bible history. It came to pass exactly as God's word said it would, except for the last kingdom. That hasn't happened yet, but I truly believe it's about to happen. So, here's what's going on. Daniel is in Babylon in the second year of King Nebuchadnezzar's reign, when the king has this prophetic dream that keeps him up all night, and he commands the magicians, the astrologers, and all his sorcerers to not just interpret his dream, but to do so without first even knowing his dream. Because if you think about it, they could just, if he said, this is what I dreamed, now interpret it. Oh, well, of course, I know No, I want you to interpret the dream, but I'm not going to tell you what the dream was. That way I know that you know, if you know what the dream was. Kind of smart, actually, right? So, what's their response? Well, they began pleading with the king to tell them the dream so they can interpret it. And it's really interesting what they say in their defense. There is no man on earth that can do what you're asking us to do. That's correct. It won't be any man, only God, as we're about to see. So, what's Nebuchadnezzar's response? Well, he becomes infuriated. And then he sends out this decree to start killing them. Maybe a little bit disproportionate, but Daniel is informed about this. So Daniel wisely asks that the king give him some time to, the text says, seek mercies from the God of heaven concerning this dream that he had. And that's exactly what he does. And when he does, God, as he's always so faithful to, reveals to Daniel in what we're told is a night vision, both the king's dream and, more importantly, the interpretation of the king's dream. So Daniel is then quickly brought before the king, and first, and this is really important, he gives God all the glory before he even begins telling the king what his dream was and what the interpretation is. So he describes this dream, and he says, you had this dream of this image with a head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and finally feet of 10 toes mixed with iron and clay. Then, that's the dream. Now Daniel's going to interpret the dream. And he says to King Nebuchadnezzar, this is a prophecy, yet future. And the head of gold is actually you. As the king of Babylon, it represents the rule, the kingdom of Babylon. And then after your kingdom, in fact, on Thursday nights, we're going to resume our study in Isaiah. We're learning about this. The prophet Isaiah, some 200 years before, by name, names Cyrus, who will destroy Babylon. And Cyrus is the second kingdom of the Medes and Persians, which will rule after Babylon, and they're represented by the silver arms and chest. Then the third kingdom. We know this from history. Doubtless you've heard of Alexander the Great. You know, the guy that was so depressed, broke down and cried because there were no more kingdoms to conquer. Well, he's the ruler of the Grecian Empire and is represented by the brass belly and thighs. Okay? After Greece comes the Roman Empire, and they would rule as represented by the legs of iron, which brings us to the present day and this final kingdom. However, this kingdom is like no other. And this for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that the feet and the 10 toes on those feet are iron mixed with clay. It will be this final kingdom that will come crashing down with all of the other kingdoms with it prior to it, when the rock, and I capitalized the word rock, spoiler alert, that's Jesus, not made with human hands, comes when this final kingdom is ruling, and it crushes it once and for all. Oh, can't wait. Coming soon to a kingdom near you. Would you join me in Daniel chapter 2? I want to begin reading in verse 41. Daniel is saying to the king, "Whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, yet the strength of the iron shall be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay." And verse 42, "As the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile." Let me just parenthetically insert here. Notice the going from gold as the head to the weakness of just clay mixed with iron. Isn't that indicative of the rule of man? Becomes so weak over time. Verse 43, and I want to draw your attention to this verse. We're going to come back to it here in a moment. "As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they," key word, "will mingle with the seed of men." Who's they? We don't know. Well, here's what we do know. They cannot be men, because if they were men, they would not need to mingle with the seed of men. They're already men. So the they have to be something other than human. Let's move on. Don't look at me like that anymore. We're going to come back to this. "They will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of these kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms. And it shall stand forever. Inasmuch as you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God has made known to the king what will come to pass after this." And then he says this, and I love this: "The dream is certain, and its interpretation is sure." Translated, you can take that to the bank. Actually, don't take it to the bank. It's going to come to pass exactly as God said it would, and it did. Exactly as God said it would, yet future. Every single one of these kingdoms came to pass exactly as this dream had described and Daniel had interpreted. Actually, this prophecy in Daniel 2 is one of 4 prophecies in Scripture as it relates to this final kingdom. It's described in different ways, same prophecy. We find that again in Daniel 7 as well. Also, it comports with the book of Revelation, namely chapter 13 and chapter 17, all of which describe this final ruling kingdom divided geopolitically into 10 regions and ruled by 10 kings, as represented by the 10 toes and in Revelation the 10 horns. And these 10 kings will rule over 10 regions, or if you prefer, 10 global sectors. I'm using that word for a reason. We'll talk about that more in a moment. 10 global sectors. These 10 toes, 10 horns, are 10 sectors or regions that are ruled by these 10 kings, all of whom are under the control of the Antichrist. All 10 of these kings, all 10 of these regions, all 10 of these sectors are under the control of the Antichrist. It's for this reason that many have concluded that the Antichrist will come out of a revived Roman Empire by virtue of the aforementioned iron legs in Daniel chapter 2, and that very well could be. Enter this global crisis, which I truly believe has not only brought this prophecy to the forefront, but is setting the stage for this very last ruling empire of man. And that's what I want to expound on for the remainder of our time together today. I want for us to focus in on the prophetic significance of the feet and the 10 toes. And in order to do that, we'll go ahead at this time and end the live stream on YouTube and Facebook and redirect you to the website.